Hello and welcome to the Perpetual Traffic Podcast. This is your host, Ralph Burns, founder and CEO of Tier 11, alongside the amazing, the talented, the GOAT of all things online creative. You know that the GOAT is not a derogatory term. You do know that.
I do know that, yes. It's greatest of all time. I take that as a compliment. Thank you.
Anyway, we've got Lauren back for the fourth in a series of episodes here on the beauty industry and her expertise and the team's expertise at Tier 11. Now, they're part of Tier 11. Lauren ran Loft 325 for years and years, and a huge specialty was obviously in the beauty space. And we've since joined forces as of maybe less than a year ago. And so we're doing this whole series here for beauty and wellness brands because it's an area that we feel that creative especially is, I would say in this industry almost more so than any other, it's the most important element of growing and scaling a beauty brand online. Is that safe to assume that in your experience?
Yes, definitely. Creative is super important when it comes to beauty.
Because there's so many different factors. There's the branding, that just the fact that you're in beauty, there is a certain aesthetic element that has to, you have to check that box.
Right.
Your brand has to look really good.
Yeah.
Because obviously you're improving people's either wellness or their beauty, the way they look, the way they feel about themselves. So the creative has got to be spot on. But it's not all about branding. It's all about branding plus converting at the same time, especially if you are doing a lot of things that we're going to be talking about here and that we talked about in the previous episode, which we'll leave links to that show in the show notes over at perpetualtraffic.com. If you haven't listened to that, definitely put that on your listen to list on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But today we're going to go through something that we refer to as the beauty scale system. That's kind of the big system that we use internally inside Tier 11 once a client actually comes on board, which we'll certainly talk about that at a later date and specific to the beauty and wellness industry. However, the step before that is the most interesting, in my opinion, because that's kind of where it all starts. That's where you and your team do the assessment of what are they missing? How can we help them? And in some cases, you're like, well, they're kind of doing a lot of things right. But have you ever come across a situation where, and you've worked with probably 20 different beauty brands at this point. We were putting together our list the other day. I'm like, oh my God, this thing just keeps going on and on. Have you ever had a situation where it's like, I don't see any way to improve their ads? Has that ever happened?
Yes, actually, yeah. Yeah, it's good. It's good for them. So it's just, we've definitely run into it where it's like, man, everything is spot on. I feel like they're doing a lot of things right. And more so it's just, they'd want more, or maybe they want to test some new angles or different avatars or things like that. But yes, we've definitely run into it where it's like, wow, this, I don't even know why you're here, but I'll definitely try and help you.
Really good. So there is that, but it's like, all right, so if we use that as the frame, okay, you're doing everything right. And then maybe it's just, maybe in the third step, which I know we're going to get into here, maybe it's just different types of creatives and then adding on different layers of the same type of messaging. What I really want to know is what does great look like? And if you're measuring against a benchmark of what you think is absolutely effective, not just pretty and on brand and slick or whatever adjective you want to use, but also is consistent with the overall messaging on all the different platforms, but also converts, what does great look like? And I find that when I'm on discovery calls with beauty and wellness clients specifically, they just don't know. They know I need to do creative. I need to put creative out there. Oh, I've got some content creators. And there's an example that we're going to use here today, which is a great one, I think, for us to sort of everyone to learn from. And this isn't just for beauty and wellness, by the way. This is for whatever your brand is. Your methodology makes sense at every level, every industry. We're just using beauty and wellness as sort of our proxy here. It's how do you actually get from I just throw out creative to making it actually all work together. And there is a sort of a 3-step process, which I had to kind of extract out of you because you're like, I don't really know. I don't know. I just do it. So, but there is some thinking that goes into it, and it's basically 3 steps. So that's what today's show is all about, is to take you through those 3 steps that you can either do it on your own. If you're the director of marketing, you have a team that does this for you, or you're an owner operator and you're doing it yourself, or maybe you have a small team, or you want to hire an agency, hint, tier 11 over at tier11beauty.com. So there is obviously that. There's a sales pitch that's embedded in this whole thing, Lauren. I mean, come on. But the point is, hopefully we can give you some knowledge here so that you can do this on your own and start to really use creative for what it's meant to, which is to engage top of the funnel and ultimately convert at the bottom of funnel and all the steps that are in between. And especially with all the changes now on the Meta platform, Google specifically, well, Meta Advantage Plus, creative is the thing now. It's never really, it hasn't really changed in the last 3 years. It's just become more and more important alongside great data. So if you could take us through that process here today, we are going to do screen share. And of course, you can get that over at perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube so you can see what we're actually doing. This is actually a live client that we're considering working with. So this is like hot off the presses, which is kind of cool, I think.
Okay. So we have a client, potential client, this brand, Akoa Beauty. And when we first got on the discovery call, the first thing that I really start to look for is what is their messaging and what type of assets do they have? So as we kind of broke this down, before we got on the call, just kind of going through, okay, they have a great website. There's a lot of information on here. It looks like they have some pretty nice product shots. They have some lifestyle shots, a lot of before and afters. It looks like they have a lot of UGC. So as I'm kind of going through this, I'm just assessing like, okay, what exactly do they have? What can we utilize?
Social proof on there too. There's
social proof.
There's a lot of good things going on here.
Yeah. So far this is a great website so far. And then really just trying to understand like, okay, what exactly is their messaging here? Like, what are they talking about? So this product specifically is for women or men with really curly hair. And as we went through on the last podcast, we were talking about one of our clients who, again, is a curly hair person. So it's already
curly girlies.
Curly girlies.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like, okay, great. Like I already know this demographic. I know what they struggle with. I know that they want defined curls. They want bouncy curls. But for something like this is a shampoo, conditioner, and these are more styling products. So knowing what I know about curly hair, it's okay. It's about not only the bounce and the fullness, but they want softness. They want texture. They don't want frizzy. They want hydrated curls. So going through all of this and understanding what type of client this is going for, it's easy to kind of start to assess this.
So the desire is bounce, fullness, very similar to our other case study for Bellissima, but that was a tool that actually created the curls. Here, it's the same, some of the same pain points, maybe not exactly the same, but the desired end result is similar. And that is something you as a business owner or a director of marketing should probably know about your demographic. However, since you've dealt with this type of avatar in the past, you know exactly like, all right, I know where we're going with this, that kind of thing. Like desires, pain points, you've already sort of talked about it, what their problems are, and does the website actually relay that, or is it more product-based? Like how does it actually convert? So you're sort of assessing all of that. And we call that sort of the brand consistency kind of analysis with regard to what those desires and what those pain points are, or what the problems are.
Yes. And that was something that Ralph pulled out of me as we were talking about this.
I didn't call it that before.
So yes, after dissecting that from my brain, he came up with a good slogan for it.
There you go. That's what I do.
So once kind of just going through the website and pulling all this out, and then it's really just starting to go through their socials. So going into their organic social to really see again, how are they talking to their customers? So I think one of the things that brands sometimes they just get so hung up on is that they want to have this really great, amazing branded website. And then they go to their organic social, and sometimes they fall off on their organic social because they, again, like they have the brand, but it's not always brand consistency. Where as this particular brand, they are carrying that through from website to organic. So again, they still have a lot of the products, they show it in use. They talk about the different pain points. The great thing about this brand too is that their founders are also very heavily involved in their organic social, which is huge. And a lot of brands, again, I think they don't want to get in front of the camera. If you own a brand, definitely get in front of the camera. Like you are the brand representative. So for this particular brand, it was great to see like, awesome, we have these founders who want to be engaged. We have a lot of great founder content. So this is going to be awesome when we start running ads. So again, just kind of doing this like analysis of what exactly do we have from website to organic, what's the messaging, what's the assets, and then like just kind of dissecting it from there.
Okay. So once again, if you're not watching this, if you're walking the dog, running on the treadmill, head on over to perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube and watch this here, especially if you're a beauty brand. But if you're a marketer or advertiser, we're basically on step 2 here. So we went from the website. Now we're looking at their socials, look specifically on Instagram. I believe this is Reels, or this is, I forget which part. This is just their
feed. Yeah.
This is just their feed. So we're sort of assessing that right now. Like, is it consistent from website to socials, which is the brand consistency analysis, which, yeah, right.
So then after kind of assessing all of this, then it's really starting to go into their ad library. So once I've kind of seen what the messaging is on their website, what's the messaging on their socials, how are they actually taking all of that information and translating it into their advertising? And when we started like looking at this, a lot of the messaging that they have on their website and a lot of the information and storytelling that they have on their website and their organic was not being relayed through their advertising. So they have like a lot of really kind of these generic type ads of like us versus them, showing the product, which is good to have. I'm not saying it's bad, but you can't always have like just this formula. Not all of those formulas like work for every single brand. So what I saw that was lacking was that, yes, they have these great images of their products, but it wasn't telling me anything. So for instance, they have this one product right here where it showcases their curling cream, but it's really just like a product, hydrating curling cream. And then it just kind of gives you some different points of what it does, like defines and moisturizes curls, holds in soft, touchable curls. Okay, great. But like there needs to be more. Like it would be great if we had this product with, again, like a before and after of this is what it looked like before, this is what it now looks like after. So there was there's a lot of inconsistencies that they were having from website to organic all the way to their advertising. Like the messaging wasn't matching, the imagery, the creative just isn't matching what they should be doing in order to create ads that are going to convert for their specific product, which has kind of been their pain point when they came to us to talk to us about it.
Yeah. Is it the ads specifically that you're like, whoa, here's where we're missing the mark? Because they're obviously coming to us for creative, potentially traffic data, that kind of stuff. Like, where is the mark being missed from website to socials to ads, or is it all three, or does it drop off on the ads? I'm hearing it drops off more on the ads, but maybe I'm misinterpreting.
It's more on the ads for sure. It just, the messaging and the creative just isn't resonating with what they have on their website and their organic. It's just the messaging is kind of all over the place. It's not really hitting specific pain points. It's kind of hitting every single person, not necessarily like specific people. So they're just trying to get too many people with these creatives. So it's just not really resonating.
Yeah, because the Instagram feed is lively. It's like founder story, excitement, kind of some cool stuff happening. And obviously you got to see this over on perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. But the point is like, there's like real people using the product. Maybe not as much like before and after kind of stuff here is what I'm seeing, because I'm sort of comparing this to the Bellissima case study that we did. A lot of after states here, which is good, but much less like product. Here's the product and benefits bulleted out, which is kind of boring. Like that's sort of, I think of those as like, that's bottom of funnel. Let me remind you of how great we are right before you buy. Probably not top of funnel, but you're always surprised at like what creative works well at what part of the funnel.
Yeah. I mean, this one too, like they have this one ad, and I'm always like, I'm a less is more type of person.
Yeah.
And there's so much copy on this ad. I wouldn't even like curl care shampoo, great. But there's literally so much copy that I would just be like, nope, don't even want to read it. I would just bypass
That's 500
this.
words right there. That's 250 words right there. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to read a paper when I'm looking at an ad. I just want to see the creative. So
right. It's no knock on them too. Let's make sure that like this is the problems that we see all the time.
Correct. Yeah. And I understand you have to test things. Correct. I mean, you never know what's going to work. So, but yes, I'm just more of a less is more type of person when it comes to creative, and there's ways to explain it without having to write a paragraph, basically.
The funny thing is that I'm reading this thing on, like, it just went through, well, part of the book is like the evolution of like the internet and the computer age and everything. I just read the chapter on Steve Jobs, even though I read the Steve Jobs book way back when. It's like one of his great phrases is simple is hard, complex is easy. Like, and it really is like simple, elegant design. I just went through the chapter on like the desktop. He's like comparing Windows to Apple. Of course, he always sort of like bashes Gates, which is so funny because Gates never like shouts back at him. It's awesome. The point is, it's like simple sells because and especially when you've got like 3 seconds to capture somebody's attention on an ad, even more so. I mean, we're talking about Steve Jobs and like the interface. Like, think about how simple the interface is on your iPad or on your iPhone, and what it could look like. All the lines of code that are behind that. Like, you don't want to see any of that stuff. You want to see just the basic stuff. It's almost the same here. You've got to distill it down into its essential messages, and you do that visually obviously through video, but then also in ads. Less is more on the copy side. And it definitely seems like from website to social to ad, there is definite inconsistency, especially on the ad side. But it sort of seems like there's some inconsistencies on the social and the website side as well. Not to like discount that, or what would your assessment be there?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think with creative, again, your organic social still has to build that community, and the community side is what the social does. But I think, with your brand, everything can still kind of start to tie together. But organic social is, again, like you're wanting to build that community, you're wanting to build that like curly girls community. And I think as you start to build that on your socials, then, they're going to start going over to your website and buying. I mean, again, your website is still your storefront. So you have to have the brand consistency there. I think you can have a little bit more fun with your organic as long as it's educating, it's bringing them into your community essentially. So I think like overall, like their organic and their website is more consistent than their advertising for sure.
Okay. That makes sense. In the Bellissima Hair Tools case study for the previous episode, links in the show notes for that one, obviously, there was inconsistency in their old site versus their new site. They didn't even have like some of their social videos on there. Now they do. I see with Akoa, they do have social videos on there. So there's a tie to social at the very least. You don't want to kind of, I don't know what the word is on social versus your website. You want your website to be a little bit more, I guess, corporate, I suppose, and the social to be a little bit more frivolous. Like, I don't know. Like, what's your sense?
Yeah. I mean, I would say like, it's just, again, like it's your storefront. So you still want to have like brand consistency, cleaner, shoppable, easier to purchase. Whereas your organic, you can, it's more fun. It's a little bit more fun of a platform. Like, yes, you still want that consistency and brand, but like you can also test some things too. Like you can go with trends and things like that. So it's like Organic is still a little bit more where you can kind of have a little bit more fun in how you want to share the information, whereas your website is like, you still need to sell a product. So like these are like what needs to be clear on there.
A little bit more business over there. All right. So step one is that brand consistency analysis through all the different platforms, website, socials, ads. Step number two is sort of the inventory side of it. So explain what that is.
Yeah. So as we're going through each one, the biggest thing again is that we want to see what exactly they have in terms of creatives to look at. So do they have static imagery? Do they have product shots? Do they have lifestyle shots? Do they have video? Do they have UGC? Like those are kind of like the checkpoints of like all the things that we're looking at of, okay, what exactly, like what are all the assets that we have to actually work with? Because if they don't have it, then we obviously need to go get it. So do we need to do a studio shoot? Do we need to get product shots? Do they have lifestyle? All those things. So as you start to go through their website, you can see, okay, well, they have product shots. Great. They have product shots. Yeah. Like all amazing product shots. They have lifestyles. So they show a bunch of before and afters with different curl patterns, different curl types, which is great because we obviously want that. They have a ton of UGC, it looks like. Look, they have not only in studio product shots and video, but they also have creators who have shot content for them. There's founder information. As I start to go through this, it's like, okay, great. Check. We have all this stuff that we can pull from. Same thing with the organic. Like you can pull videos and images and things that they're doing in their organic social, repurpose them and make them ads. Like if they have top performing reels, let's repurpose those into an ad and start putting paid behind it. Like there's different things that you can kind of start to pull from as you're assessing this account. So like that's kind of like part two is just, okay, what assets do they have to work with and what do we need to go actually get?
Right. So that mental checklist for you, just to reiterate, is product shots, lifestyle, either video and or shots, UGC, you got some content creator stuff happening there, not the same faces every single time, you can kind of figure out, and then who the founders are. So there's founder videos that are in there. So for you, it's like that's 5 or 6 different check boxes in this sort of second stage, which is the creative asset inventory that you're doing. They check a lot of those boxes, it would seem.
They just looking at what they have, like they have a ton of content. So for us, it's like, great. It's really good. It's like colorful, it's lively, it's interesting. Yeah. Yes, they have a ton of great stuff. So for us on the creative side, it's like, great. We don't have to really, like, it's really just taking what they have and just repurposing it, putting new messaging, figuring out a new messaging strategy that we could start adding onto these creatives. So yeah, for them, it's like, great. We don't have to do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Got a lot. So you're thinking, all right, I don't need a video shoot. I don't need my team to like fly out to, I forget what they're at, and shoot video. Like they've got a lot of those things. That asset library is pretty robust. I can do a lot with it, it seems like.
Exactly. Yes.
Got it. Okay. So in the creative asset side, it's really, you're mostly looking at their socials and or their ad library, or sort of the combination of the two, or what's your sense? Because you didn't really seem like you loved the ad library all that much.
Yeah, I mean, the ad library don't really look at, because it's more the ad library is how is everything translating throughout website to social to ads. But for the ad library, it's like, well, they're pulling from what they have. I don't think they're utilizing it like they should. But yeah, I mean, this is, again, like just all the assets that they have, even going down to their product collection pages, like they have a ton of stuff to work with. So yeah, makes it easy.
Well, I'm curious, when you're assessing a website, the first thing that I always do is I right click on inspect, and then I look at it on mobile. How much of that do you do here? Because we're sort of doing it on desktop over at perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. Do you assess, like, all right, I'm going to be sending a lot of traffic, chances are, especially like this seems like an Instagram kind of sort of TikTok, but, obviously Meta. like an ad platform type of thing. And that is a mobile user primarily, like 80-90%. Do you assess much on that?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think I was just more because I'm on my desktop, but yeah, I definitely look at it on mobile. I look at their socials on mobile. Yeah. I mean, usually I'm actually doing this probably on my phone first, as opposed to on the website or I'm sorry, on my desktop. So yes, 100%. Because again, like on your mobile device, if it doesn't look good on mobile, then yeah, your website looks great on desktop, but like 90% of people are on their mobile. So
It's one of the first things that I do is I do it that way on my desktop. And then I did this in a client call this morning around with TJ, is I went through the entire process on my phone and opted in. And like, what am I seeing and I think so few either business owners or marketing directors do just that basic task. And one of the things that I noticed is that every now and then, like we have a form that's on our site over at Tier 11 that it fails. And so I have like one of our staff, who's our webmaster, check that form every single week. Well, she's been checking it every single day, which is God bless her. But anyway, she checks it once a week just to make sure that all your stuff works and you can actually get through it without getting tripped up, because stuff on the web and anything could have, like you could get an outdated WordPress plugin or a Shopify app that all of a sudden stalls your entire process and can stop your business in its tracks or affect your conversion rates. So it's always something, just as a general rule, it's such an obvious thing, but it's the obvious stuff is the stuff that people don't do, is just to check, how does my customer experience my website and obviously my creative and everything else that goes along with it on the site, just as sort of a check-in every now and then. It's like, write yourself a note to become your customer once a month at the very least. Yeah. So, okay. So that's sort of the creative asset inventory step. Now, like the final step is, once we get through that, now you're getting an idea, okay, between website, between socials, between ad library. I know kind of what kind of assets they have. Doesn't seem like you're going to need to go out and create a lot of stuff. You can repurpose, sort of remix it to a certain degree. And there's a couple of different packages that we offer for that. The third step is now what? It's like, how does this all kind of come together, correct?
yes, yeah, exactly. So kind of once we've done all the steps, it's now it's really going into that messaging and starting to build out, okay, so this is what they have on their products, on their website. This is what they have on their socials. We've kind of gone through and just did like an informational deep dive of, okay, this is what we have. And then kind of taking all of that and then again, seeing how that's all translated into what is actually being talked about on their ad library, because we're going to start finding gaps and holes in their ads currently, from what we see from web to social to ads. And now it's starting to build out that kind of that messaging roadmap and that kind of creative roadmap of like, okay, we need this type of creative, because there's definitely holes right now in their strategy that they have currently when they're running ads. So now it's starting to build out, okay, this is, I think, the path that we need to go down to start helping them get this next batch of creatives that we can start testing with.
Right. Do you always look at active ads, or do you go back and say, well, maybe at some point in time they actually did have something that was better, but they, for whatever reason, didn't use it? Is it, I mean, how deep do you go in the ads library? We're in the meta ads library here just for consistency. You can also do this over on TikTok too. How far back do you go? Like, I find sometimes people are like, well, 2 years ago we were doing really well and now all of a sudden we're not. I'm like, well, then they go back to their ads 2 years ago. I'm like, well, their ads 2 years ago were a lot better than they are today.
Yeah. I mean, I think like for just a high level, when just like doing a quick assessment, I just look at active ads. But once we start to go in, the creative strategists on the team, like that's when we really do our deep dive in our creative strategy framework. That's when they really start to go in and assess like everything, like where did the account start from and kind of what was the evolution of like where they started to where they are now. Like that's when we really go into like a super deep dive, but like kind of just like a quick overview to just make sure, like, as we're starting to learn a little bit about this client, just kind of seeing the active ads, I think is good to start.
Okay. One of the things you mentioned when we were talking about this before was like their pain point and solution effectiveness. I'm not seeing a whole lot of that here. I mean, I'm seeing like a lot of statics, a lot of copy, not really talking to like the before state and the after state, which is so important in beauty, like just for effectiveness. But more so, I think, in beauty and wellness, almost than like any other, because it's like, it's usually a transformation kind of instantaneous. It's not like weight loss. Well, it's got to take like 60 days or whatever it is. So what are you seeing here with regard to that?
Yeah, again, there's no that yeah, that was again when first starting to go into, that was really the main thing that I called out, was that, well, what's the pain point? Like, I don't really see like what your customer is actually complaining about. It's not anywhere in the ads. Like the whole, what you're talking about on your website is that it hydrates. Go back to the main page here, but it like refreshes, it hydrates, it goes from this like frizzy state to these more defined curls, like all these things that you want as someone with super curly hair, but that's not being discussed in your ads. Like showcasing the founder with some of the products, that's nice, but assuming that, again, it's like these could be top of funnel, bottom of funnel. I don't know like where these are at specifically, but there's just different things that it's like, well, that doesn't tell me anything. A PR ad, that's great to have, but again, that doesn't tell me anything. So it's like there's just none of the creatives that they have currently are really diving into those like super like pain point type things. So I think that's kind of where like I notice is that, well, you're not talking to your customers the way that you're talking to them on your organic social. So like, how can we start to take that and put that in the forefront of what you're trying to sell?
Yeah, I always think of this, and I think maybe it was from Don Miller Story Brand, who was on here years ago, which we'll leave links in the show notes to that one. If you're not familiar with what Don Miller and Story Brand actually does, is you have to find out the villain for your brand. And there always needs to be a villain. It's like in the story arc in movies, there's always the bad guy. There is the Darth Vader to the Luke Skywalker. There's the bad side, there's the dark side, and there's the light side. So it's like, who is the villain? What's the villain? And you're like, oh, really? It seems overly dramatic. Well, the villain here is frizziness, right? Isn't it? It's so like simple, but you have to highlight that because that's the problem. We're not splitting the atom here by any stretch, but we are helping women, curly haired women in most cases, like with a problem that is very annoying to them and may or may not affect their self-esteem and all these other sorts of things that go along with it. We'll leave all that stuff, like the reason behind the reason, that's a whole other episode, to the side. But the point is like that you got to figure out what the villain is here. Like, what are the remember those scrubbing bubbles commercials? Like, what's the villain? It's grime, it's dirt and mold and like all the stuff, the gunky stuff that's at the bottom of your shower, and they eliminate it. And I used to have bad dreams, by the way, about scrubbing bubbles. I'm just saying that. And Chad, she always laughs at me if that was another scrubbing bubble nightmare last night. Like, yeah, it was. And the point is like, it's the villain. I'm afraid of the villain. I'm afraid of a dirty house. I'm afraid of a dirty shower and I might slip and fall or whatever. And my friends think that like, I don't know, I'm living in a trailer somewhere. That's a bad thing because I did live in a trailer, actually. The point is like, you have to figure out what the villain is and then contrast it with your solution. So it's before state, after state in this industry, so much more so than ever, and highlight that a lot. And you're not seeing it in the ads. You're kind of seeing it in the socials, definitely on the website. There's some good before and afters, but where they fall short really is over on the ad library and keeping that consistent. Is that fair to say? Like you're constantly looking for that?
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's just, what is the problem? It sounds so simple, but what is the problem you're trying to solve, really? I mean, it's not brain surgery, but sometimes it is. It's hard. So I get it.
It is. And then it's, what pain are you trying to alleviate, or what villain are you trying to kill or like defeat? Let's just say that, so we're not super violent here on perpetual traffic. But then what's your unique mechanism that's different than the rest of the competition too? So there is that in a highly competitive space. Like, they are not the only people in this space trying to help curly girlies with the problem of frizzy hair. So their solution, sort of bottom of funnel, needs to be like, why should I choose them? It's like, all right, you've identified the problem, you've identified the solution. Oh, there's hair care products that will do this. Most women in this space probably know that, but why is yours the best? Why should I choose you? So that's sort of that next step. And it doesn't, like, there are some unique mechanisms here that are going on, but how would you kind of position that here with this brand?
Yeah. So for this particular brand, they do have like specific ingredients, again, that they've called out that does help with frizziness, dryness. They do have different oils and things. I forget what it was that they had said, but they do have everything within the products already that makes it so that their product is different from all the other ones on the market. So again, it's kind of it's like layers. There's it's an onion basically. So just peeling back all the layers of like, okay, what exactly is it that you do this? Yes, this product does this, but like, what is your key ingredient, or what is your key benefit that you really help with? So as, again, just going into this and understanding like what those things are, and then highlighting those things, again, kind of showcasing that within the ad, the creative, even having their founders talk about it. Like those are things that would, again, all be helpful, as like, this is what makes us different from every other brand out there.
Right. Right. And this goes back to like the basics. So like, we talked about this on the show hundreds of times, like the 5 stages of an awareness from Eugene Schwartz, which is basically unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, most aware. And so you're kind of in that agitating the problem on sort of level 2. Like, most women with frizzy hair aren't unaware that they have frizzy hair, right? Maybe some are, but are they problem aware? Yes. In most cases. The question is, are they solution aware? Most cases, yes. But then it's like, in your product, what specifically can you do? And that's like the 4th level of awareness with Eugene Schwartz. It's like, what is your unique mechanism? What's the thing that makes you different? And then there's obviously this price, and then there's value and all these other things. And then obviously most aware is number 5 once they become a customer. So it's steps. Like, we're talking about 3 steps here, but you're still sort of following that overall framework of how do you get somebody to convert? And those 5 steps, like, I love simplicity. Like, those 5 steps are the same today as they ever were in 1950 or whenever he first wrote that book. And here we are applying it to a brand in 2025. It's the same stuff that works today that works back then.
Yes, exactly. 100%.
So anything else as we're kind of going through this, like, we took some time to kind of deconstruct it in your brain, because you're like, this is what happens, I think, with a lot of folks, is like, I don't really know what I don't know, but it's like, I know what I know because I've been doing it for so long. There is an element of, you've been around and you've seen this kind of market before, so you didn't have to do a tremendous amount of research to know what the problem is, to know what to look for. What would you say to people that maybe don't have your level of expertise? Like, what can they do in order to be able to do this sort of 3-step formula with a high degree of accuracy?
Yeah, I mean, again, like, I think because you broke it down into like such an easy 3-step process, where it's just brand consistency, asset, what type of assets do they have? And then kind of the last stage is like, how is that really translated into advertising? What's like, and what's the pain point of that? It's just kind of taking those quick analysis of everything and just really breaking it down into like these simple, easy steps, because you could look at your website and already say, I don't know if I necessarily have a brand here. I can look at my organic, like, are they talking to each other? I can look at my ad messaging. If your ads aren't converting, clearly something is wrong, whether it's the messaging, it's the offer, it's whatever it is, like, something's not happening. So like, where is that kind of like gap that you have from brand consistency to assets to advertising?
Yeah. Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Well, that's why they call you the GOAT or at least I do. So there you go.
I'm changing my title now.
I think you should change your LinkedIn profile to GOAT of all things creative. Well, that's great because this is sort of the first step that we use in order to bring people into like our world. And then we deploy the beauty scale system, which we'll get to in a future episode here. But this has been tremendous. And I think whether or not you're in the beauty and wellness niche or whether you're the curly girly hair niche, all this stuff applies. It's the same principles, really. So, and creative, like we said before, is so vital to all of this working so well. So, super appreciate you coming on here today and explaining this and in a really sort of simple formula. And we will leave all the links over in the show notes. If you don't want to do any of this stuff yourself, you can always hire us, of course. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. You'll actually get Lauren's expertise. If she's like, oh my God, she's brilliant and you can actually capture that brilliance. You just have to pay us money. So anyway, the plan is tier11beauty.com. Head over to that, check that out, and we'd be happy to talk to you about how we might be able to do this for your brand. So all the links are going to be over in the show notes over at perpetualtraffic.com. Of course, we'll leave links to this as well as the site that we just talked about. And make sure that if you haven't been watching, that you do watch this one, especially if you're a creative sort of struggling with what to do next over at our YouTube channel, perpetualtraffic.com/YouTube. So make sure you do leave a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. We really appreciate that. And we appreciate you coming on for the 4th episode in this series. Yeah. And we'll have to keep this going. So thank you so much, Lauren Schwartz. On behalf of my other co-host who couldn't make it here today, Lauren E. Petrullo, until next show, see ya.